Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. As a quick side note, I do stream 6 days a week at 9 a.m. GMT +1. If you're interested in such things, I'd love to see you there. Anyways, onto the story. You Get One Warning, written by Weaver of Worlds. 250 years ago, the galaxy had experienced a massive pulse of energy that, being quantum in nature, had permeated every star system nearly simultaneously. The galactic supremacy sensors and computers took roughly half a year to locate the star system from which it had originated. And then only by measuring the slight degradation of the pulse the further from the particular arm of the galaxy it was. By the time the Senate had approved an investigatory and possibly punitive fleet to investigate, all hell had broken loose across the supremacy. Dormant genes had long been inactive and identified as junk DNA, suddenly activated in nearly every species, often with violent results. While the supremacy worked diligently to put down these genetic sports, displaying variations ranging from extraordinary strength to the ability to control and generate several different kinds of energy, to the most feared deviation, psionic powers. The Alma invaded from the other side of the galaxy. As a species, the Alma was just over 2 meters tall, hairless, bipedal, with somewhat brown skin and long, thick, universally black fur on their heads. 1/2 meter long horns projected from their brows and curved back over their heads. They had 2 eyes facing forward, suggesting they descended from a predator stock, and their upper limbs ended up long, highly dexterous manipulators. As a race, they displayed particular fixed abilities reminiscent of genetic sports. These included certain psionic domination powers and the ability to become invisible to electronic recording devices when they so choose. They had an unpleasant smell about them and an aura that universally left every other species in the galaxy uneasy. Their ships were the most advanced that the Supremacy had ever seen, massive, heavily shielded and armed to the teeth. Only the sheer numbers of Supremacy ships and crews had finally won the day. The Supremacy never found a single planet inhabited by the Alma, no colonies, and definitely no cradle world. It was as if they existed solely in the vast void of space, living and dying in their ships. It had taken nearly 250 years to bring about the genetic cleansing demanded by the Supreme Senate and to exterminate the Alma. We are still not confident we accomplished the latter, only that they can no longer be found anywhere within the galactic supremacy's control. During those 2.3 centuries, the origin of the pulse had to be left uninvestigated. Before a fleet was finally sent to investigate, a contact by a private company shook the supremacy to the core worlds. A system that had only been catalogued as emergent 500 years previous was now an interstellar confederacy that commanded 25 worlds in stellar cluster located at the spur of the primary and secondary arms of the galaxy. What was more extraordinary was that many of the worlds were around stars that previously did not have planets or had only inhospitable ones. They called themselves the Terran Confederacy. And they had 100 years previously fought an interstellar war with both the Kalb Empire, a race of shape-shifting reptiles who were known to infiltrate and rule other systems from within their infrastructure, and the Kanen Pact, a race of canids who could step outside of normal space/time. Both species were on the Supremacy's list to eradicate because of their genetic augmentations. The war had been long and vicious, and the Terrans had only managed to win with the aid of some other species that we have yet to, and the Terrans refused to identify by any name other than the Thudians. From the Thudians, they gained the technology to stellar-form systems to fit their needs. The first contact did not go well. The Supremacy first met the Terrans in System 864-297-345 Sigma. They called Polaris. It was over 300 light-years from the cradle star, and the planet rotating it had an orbit so unlikely timed to its primary stellar variable to make the most hardened gambler's vital fluids run cold. It was not discovered by a military fleet, but by a Florian mining company, a ship named the Night Nose. looking for heavy metals ejected from population 1 stars during their formation. Because of 864-297-345 Cygnus mass and luminosity, it was not expected to have any habitable planets. As they drove into real space from Slipstream, their sensors were immediately overwhelmed by a sensor barrage that nearly fried their systems. Suspecting that they were under attack by pirates, they targeted the nearest source of their problem and fired off a 100 petawatt X-ray laser. The sensor probe was vaporized immediately. The Night Nose lost all power instantly afterwards and was boarded. Its crew was taken into custody, and the ship confiscated for investigation. While being interrogated, the captain of the Night Nose discovered that this was a colony of a world called Terra in what they called the Sol System. It was a colony world, and an outer defense system designed to detect and inform their cradle world of any incursions into their territory. After processing the Night Nose's databanks and crew, they sent them back into the void with a message. "We are here, and this is our territory. We will trade with you, we will treat with you, but do not come to make war with us, the peoples of the Terran Confederacy." The Supremacy sent an ambassadorial envoy and an assimilation fleet along with it. The Terrans did not appreciate 2 battleships and their attendance fleets dropping out of Slipstream between the 4th and 5th planets. On top of that, the ambassador demanded the surrender of the Confederacy and the execution of its genetic deviants, and accept being assimilated into the galactic supremacy, or face the total destruction of the system. The resulting battle lasted less than an hour, and ended with the Terrans destroying the assimilation fleet without losing a single ship. A week later, a Terran ship dropped out of Slipstream around the Supremacy homeworld of St. Atl and sent down a landing party of 2. They tore through the Senate guard like paper, knocked down walls with bare hands, and blasted through 4 screens with emergency bolts generated from their own bodies before striding into the Senate chambers and demanding to speak. The male, who stood somewhere around 180 centimeters and looked remarkably like a lemur, only shorter and with paler skin and no horns, strode to the podium and took the speaking stone from the speaker's primary claw. The speaker was a massive draconic Rhodian, standing over 3 meters tall with 6 eyes across his brow. He then turned his back on the being no other creature in the galaxy in the right mind would insult, and then addressed the Senate. "The beings of the Galactic Supremacy. I am Whitney Eldridge, sometimes known among my people as Pinnacle. I am here to address our grievances with the body for your unprovoked attack on Earth and its colonies. We warned you not to bring your war and silly prejudices to our system. We sent your first vessel back to you unscathed, as we felt that initial contact was a misunderstanding. Then you sent a fleet to Earth demanding that we surrender our sovereignty and execute our citizens, or you would destroy our worlds." He then set a holoprojector down on the podium. After a short delay, the device hacked into the media's feed of the chambers before displaying a holographic image of the fleet arriving in the Sol System. The device played the ambassador's message as the fleet opened its gun ports. Within moments, the Terran vessel simply appeared atop the Supremacy fleet and began to fire. The first shots caught the lead battleship, the Assimilator. Then the destruction really began. Small skirmisher ships made pinpoint strafing runs on the other vessels, then landed on them, reconfiguring themselves into giant bipedal combat craft that ripped the hull plating apart and tore their way inside them. Finally, the boarding parties began as humanoids flew through the void without the aid of vac suits or thrusters and began to cut, tear, and, in one case, even phase through the hulls. They captured the crews, destroyed their weaponry, and took them aboard holding craft. The operation took less than a standard hour for them to capture and destroy the entire fleet. When the hollows stopped playing, the Terran looked at the Senate and said, "Consider this a formal declaration of war. Our fleets are now mobilizing against your industrial and military centers. We did not start this war, but we damn sure will finish it." And with that began the largest interstellar war in the galaxy's history. The Terrans showed no quarter. They burned our shipyards, destroyed manufacturing bases, and disrupted interstellar trade for the next 5 years, pushing the Supremacy back nearly to its founding core worlds. The Terran introduced a new type of weaponry, that suppressed the quantum fields of a star to the point that many of the scientific principles that allowed for a star travel were suppressed, condemning whole species to their homeworlds for thousands of years. Finally, the core world sued for peace. The Terrans' demands were total capitulation, with desolation of the supremacy, the emancipation of all colonies over a specific population to self-rule, and the formation of a new government organization of sovereign system states called the Federation. This name seemed to amuse the Terrans. In 5 galactic standard years, a small confederation of planets, numbering only 25 worlds, wrecked an empire that had stood for over 5,000 years and forced it to change. The Confederacy has since refused to join the Galactic Federation, but has been willing to be trade partners and make mutual defense treaties. In an attempt to forge both, the Federation has sent an envoy to Terra. Now, we'll see if the Terrans can wage peace as viciously as they can wage war. End of story. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster117, Caspar Arnholtz, Draxzoon WRE, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.